been other songs that we react to recently that has that distortion sound that sounded a little bit like, or a lot like the My Bloody Valentine, and they
Yeah, I'm not
really
familiar with that
they
band.
put this album out that was amazing, and they were just almost became like the kings and queen because there was a female singer, maybe two in the band, but they absolutely kicked ass with this particular album in the '90s, and they were part of this whole shoegaze kind
Yeah.
of movement and stuff like that, where again looking down at the floor because where the pedals and putting all these
Yeah.
effects and
I
stuff
like
like
the
that.
shoegaze stuff because it's like this hybrid of all this good stuff.
I don't know how much shoegaze this is, but it kind of I think it's right around it or inside it. That there's just 1993. So distortion was a really big thing back then. In these bands, especially overseas. They were experimenting with all these kind of
Mhm.
sounds and stuff, and they were on the money.
Hey, welcome back to Into the Music. I'm Chris, and I'm here with my buddy Greg. And today we are going to do a reaction and review of a Ko-fi request. The request is by John Taskmaster. And tell everybody what the song is, Greg, and who it's by.
I will, Chris. Thank you.
Sure.
So,
Anytime.
yeah. So the band is Stereolab, and the song is French Disco,
Okay.
and it's disco with a C. And you might, before you say, Greg, I know how to spell disco. I'm gonna tell you on the other side what that means. So yeah, French Disco by Stereolab. John wants one of us to listen to it, and the wheel spun and it points to you.
Okay.
You. So go check it out and come
I will
back and
do
tell me
that.
what you think.
Okay.
Hey, you're back.
I am back.
Hey, so what'd you think about the song?
I really like this song.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really liked
me too. Me too.
French
Yeah.
Disco with a C.
Yeah, I'll get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Um,
this song was really cool, right? It was like,
yeah, I really like the from the very beginning with that organ sound.
yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
like like you're watching a creaky, really old horror movie. And
The
it
key word
ended.
is old.
The outro
Old.
was that too. What's
Wait,
that?
old. Old is a key word. So remember that word,
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Because there's a story behind
It's
that.
even a sound that like was on some of the old mystery radio shows that they used to have, like say back in the 30s or
Keep,
so.
wow. Wow. Okay,
Right?
that's really interesting. Well, when I tell you what's behind it, then maybe you'll
Okay.
sort of.
Tell me. Tell me.
Yeah, now? Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So,
Seriously, I'm curious now
yeah, yeah.
because I
So,
haven't heard that in any other song.
okay. So I'm gonna cut right to that and then try to somehow weave in like the information about the band, the whole thing. But
Okay.
this band was really interested in the usage of analog synthesizers.
Okay.
And so they were like where they, which, so that an analog synthesizer uses analog circuits and signals to generate electronic sounds. That's what, the old, I guess, production companies, TV and bands, like in the 60s, maybe even going back to the
Right.
30s, they use that.
So
And
you
so
got every time you do it, it's going to sound a little different, probably, right? Because they can't, they can't program it to sound the exact same way
right,
every time.
right, but they're going to program it to somehow come out with a sound, and it's going to sound, because I had the luxury of listening to it, a couple more times. And there's that part in the beginning, but then throughout the song, there was this, they were using that
Yeah,
like
it's
throughout,
punctuated. Yeah,
and it
yeah.
sounded very 60-ish, that sort of like organ kind of sound, synthesizer sound that was, you find in the groovy 60s songs like that. And it was really interesting, just how they were getting that type of sound. And you and I just did a reaction video that's going to drop soon. I forgot which one, but we were talking about how, um, like, hey, what year was it produced? Oh, in the 90s. Yeah, they were probably using, digital, technology at
Right,
that time,
right.
and yet this was recorded in 1993,
And they purposely
and yet
went
they
back to the old
purposely
stuff.
went backwards,
Right.
and that I think that's really cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, before I get into info, man, I really love this song. I know this is your reaction. I loved it. I loved it.
Well, but it's new to you too, so
Oh, it's new, but it's just, I mean,
we can share that.
right out of the gate, it was just so, again, that little part, but then it gets right into the music. It's just moving. The guitars are just
I'm
um
wondering though.
raging guitar. I wrote down raging guitar. It just really felt like that. It was just real forceful. Yeah.
You were mentioning about you were going to explain something about the disco with a C.
Patience, my son.
I've been waiting all this time.
um Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So disco with a C. So what happened was, let's see if I got this correct. So in 1993, this band Stereolab, they put out an EP containing this song and a song called Jenny on the Lane. Jenny on the Lane. Um, and those two songs made the EP. Then in the same year, that's 1993, and in the same year, they then re-recorded these two songs for their 1993 limited edition album in the UK only, um, and that was called, yeah, I forgot. I didn't.
That's
Yeah,
okay. That's okay.
but yeah, but and so, oh, and when they re-recorded it, it has the K, so they changed the name, from a C to the K,
To
and
differentiate them.
right. When John requested this, he was like, he stipulated, don't
Right.
use the version with the K, use it with the C.
Right.
I got to, my understanding is it might be longer. They might have mixed it and put a lot of other stuff in.
Mhm.
And so, I'm going to check that one out too.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah. So that's interesting. So
You
that's
know,
why.
I'm thinking now. The name of the band is Stereolab, and they were experimenting with those old sounds.
Yeah.
So is that Is you think they named the band in keeping with that approach? Is
Like a
it a band
laboratory. They were.
that their thing is to do the experiment, they're experimental?
I
Do
think
you know
so.
if that?
I think so. I think you're onto something, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That probably. Yeah. You know,
Because
laboratory
it's a cool name for
experimented.
a band,
Yeah,
Stereolab.
definitely. Yeah. Um, the founding members, Letitia said, um, Sadier, Sadair, vocals, keys, and
Sadir.
guitar, and Tim Gain, guitar and keyboards. And there were other band members too, but there were a lot of them, and I don't think a lot of them are really with the group anymore. So I just kind of let those two
So
names.
they changed personnel through the years, is what you're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
at?
Well, there's I think a couple other people that have been around a long time, but I think they
Okay.
might have been these two might have been the founding members. And these two actually were romantically involved for 14 years, and then I think they stopped, and they still coexist. As band members. I think that's pretty
Okay,
cool.
that's cool.
That shows that everyone can still get along after all, right? Anyway,
Yeah, you
um,
can.
the lyrics are interesting. Did you pick up on any? It was really hard because she is French,
No, I
whatever,
was really
and
just going with the music.
she was singing English, but there was a French accent too.
Right.
So the lyrics are actually very critical, questioning of capitalism, and um, there's that part where it's like like really kind of sort of forceful guitar as she's singing the verse, and then she kind of does this catch line kind of thing, da 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 da, and so they're actually saying, la resistance, and that's basically what they're
Oh,
sort of
okay.
shouting out. Yeah, yeah. Um, and according to Wiki, they're very left-sided on the political spectrum. Um, in quotes from Wiki, critics have seen Marxist allusions in the band's lyrics. Some even call the band members Marxists. And Tim Gain, quote here, none of us are Marxists. I've never even read Marx. So, um, and, but Letitia, I think that's how you pronounce her first name, she's been quoted as saying in Melody Maker 1991, basically, I want to change the world. I won't. I want to make people think about how they live every day, shake them a bit. So I think that's kind of really where they're,
Hmm.
they want to make a difference in the world, and they have. But when you look at the lyrics here, yeah, you get that, and that's cool. And I think the sound again is just just this song is going on my playlist, man. It was just so good. Um, Yeah, wall of sound. I think is another one of just a wall of sound.
I
You
think we're
know,
saying that about all the
I
songs now.
know,
But
but
yeah, it did well, especially when they did that distortion, because that was a thick wall with that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that was unique sound and distortion. Maybe I just like my earbuds are screwed up. I don't know.
yeah. I didn't hear distortion.
No, you know what? I was thinking when I first heard that was I was thinking about how I had recently read that when the Beatles did Revolution, the distorted version, um, that some people were taking the record back to the record shop because they thought there was something wrong with it. Yeah, because I hadn't heard that type of distortion
Oh
before.
wow, that is
Because
yeah,
that was real fuzzed out.
yeah,
That one.
man.
Of course, since then we hear it all the time. But imagine listening to Revolution at that time when it first came out
They led the
in
way on
what
some.
68
Yeah, it's Beatles.
or
It's just
so.
another group. They led the way on so many things. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing how many times we bring the Beatles into
Yeah.
one
But
of our reactions.
this distortion in this song was something unique. That was just, you know what it is? Like when you ever listen to white noise to help you sleep or block out
Yeah,
sound? And you could look on in the iTunes or something for
yeah,
different types of white noise. They've
yeah,
got pink noise and brown noise now. And they're all different, like mixes of, I guess ranges of frequency.
yeah.
So this is one that I hadn't heard in a song before, this type of
The
distortion.
Yeah, because there's been other songs that we react to recently that has that distortion sound that sounded a little bit like, or a lot like the My Bloody Valentine, and
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
they
that.
put this album out that was amazing, and they were just almost became like the kings and queen because there was a female singer, maybe two in the band, but they absolutely kicked ass with this particular album in the '90s, and they were part of this whole shoegaze kind
Yeah.
of movement and stuff like that, where again looking down at the floor because where the pedals and putting all these
Yeah.
effects and
I
stuff
like
like
the
that.
shoegaze stuff because it's like this hybrid of all this good stuff.
I don't know how much shoegaze this is, but it kind of I think it's right around it or inside it. That there's just 1993. So distortion was a really big thing back then. In these bands, especially overseas. They were experimenting with all these kind of
Mhm.
sounds and stuff, and they were on the money. I mean, a lot of the bands that we're listening to that has that sound, I mean, it makes it so interesting. But you know what? You have to have a really good song. You have to have a really good melody. You have to have a really good arrangement. You have to bring it.
Mhm.
And then I
Right.
think the distortion's going to like be the icing, right? It's going to be like sort of that dressing on whatever is real,
But
and
yeah, it really
it can't
can
be
change a
distorted.
lot, though. I hear what you're saying that you have to have that core good
I
song,
Yeah,
but it really can change the whole feel of a song and the impact.
yeah.
It's really amazing.
No, absolutely. But I think if you go back to a lot of songs where we're actually picking up on that, the melody is there. I think you have to have that. I think that if it was just like 4 minutes or 5 to 8 minutes of just distortion, at some
Well,
point it's like, check please,
yeah,
I want to leave.
then it's just noise.
Yeah. So like these bands, um, you know, in the '90s, coming from England and other places in Europe, they really had a real good sense of melody, rhythm. They were paying attention to like to Motown and just the '70s and the bands that came before them and really sort of picked up the torch with
Mhm.
with rhythm and melody and then just kind of wanted to put all these different kind of crazy sounds and just came out with some great stuff. This song, again, like I said, it's going on my playlist, man. It just knocked me over. It really did. Yeah,
Yeah, I got to give it another listen.
yeah, cool. All right, and this was John, right? John Taskmaster.
Yep.
Yeah, John, man, John, you gave us three. Thanks. I think all three were great. So good job. And Chris, good job to you.
Thank you,
And to
Greg. You
everyone
too.
out there, good job for finding us, for watching us, for hitting that like button, because I know you like this, I hope. For subbing with us. We're on the up, 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 up. And with that said, we'll see you on the next episode of Into the Music.